Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk a little bit about quality and why quality matters. I know quality, you might think of how good something is, some quality material. Maybe think of quality as a quality something might have, a person might have, personality trait. He has some good qualities. But today in the lab setting, I want to talk about quality in terms of quality assurance. Quality assurance is something that's often overlooked. It's a lot like health. When you're healthy, you have 100 goals. You want to lose some more weight. You want to run a marathon. You want to start a business. You want to do this or do that. But when you don't have your health, you only have one goal. Let's get your health back. Quality assurance is kind of the same for the laboratory. When quality assurance is good, when you have your accreditation, when everything's running in place, you want to hit more marks. You want to bring in more samples. You want to get more reports out. You want to hire more people. You want to make more money, basically. A lot of times is what a laboratory is kind of doing. Right? So that's all fine and good when everything's working. When your quality assurance program is good. What happens when you lose your quality assurance program? What happens when your accreditation is threatened, suspended? Then all you can think about is getting your accreditation back. All you think about is every quality measure that you have to do to return to operations. That's like health. So it's a lot easier, just like with your health, it's a lot easier to just maintain your health when you're healthy than to try to get it back after the fact. The same with quality assurance. You want to stay on top of things and keep your quality assurance high while things are good. Because if not, when your health declines, when your quality assurance program declines, that's all you're going to focus on, is getting that back. A lot of labs make that mistake. They get a couple of bad proficiency scores, and they get the threat of suspension, or they get their CLIA license suspended. Then they're worried about our quality assurance, and only then. But I think it's important to put a lot of emphasis in that quality assurance, just like your health. You should be focused on your health now, not worried about your health once you're finally sick, once you have a diagnosis. The same with quality assurance. You should be pushing for having better quality. And guess what? We're at the beginning of the year now, so now is a good time to reflect on your quality assurance. You should have ordered all your PT. Your PT should be ordered and planned out. But maybe you are thinking of adding new testing. You should be mapping out what it would take to add your PT. If your current PT provider is already accommodates the testing that you may be looking to expand, then that's fine. But if they don't, you may need to be looking for a PT provider. So we're digging into that. It's important to remember, as a CLIA lab director, or if you're a scientist in a CLIA laboratory, your CLIA lab director needs to be on site twice a year now. No ifs, ands, or buts. And those visits need to be 4 months apart at least. So a good idea is in the first 2 quarters, so the first half of the year, to at least have a visit scheduled. If you don't have a visit by the end of August, it's too late. You're kind of screwed. You won't be able to get 2 visits in. So on the safer side, it's better to plan your visits in Q1. At least schedule your visits in Q1. Maybe you don't do your visit in Q1, but at least schedule it. At least be proactive enough to plan out when you're going to be in that visit. If you are, let's start from the bottom. If you are just a staff, if you are just an analyst, technologist, technician, then if you haven't seen your lab director, you should, if your lab director is not on site. So if you have an on-site lab director, then that's not a problem. But if your lab director is off-site, a remote lab director, then you should talk to your supervisor. your general supervisor or your technical supervisor, and see about when the lab director is going to be visiting. If you are a general supervisor or a technical supervisor, you should be planning out. You should be reaching out to your HR, whoever runs it. Maybe you are the technical supervisor. Maybe you are the point of contact, and you need to be reaching out to your lab director. Maybe you already planned that out, but you should plan that out. Q1 is a good time to map it out, plan it out, schedule it up. Even if the visit is in Q2, Q1 is a good time to start digging in and to plan that out. And if you are a lab director, don't wait for your technical supervisors to reach out to you. Reach out to your technical supervisors, start a plan, start early, map it out. Especially if you're remote and you have multiple labs, you know you need to gear them up and to be prepared for the on-site visits. Then, so we have covered proficiency and lab director visits. Competency. If you remember previous conversations, competency must be performed. You must have your initial competency once hired. Then you must have 6 months competency after that. And then 6 months later, at the 1 month mark or 1 year mark, you must have competency yet again. Then after that, every year, you need to do competency. So within the year of employment from the last competency, you must do competency again. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind, competency is not a single snapshot. Competency is meant to be shown throughout the period. So you have your initial competency. So you have your initial training. Then before you can start testing, you have to have your initial competency. If you're hired, you might have, some laboratories have extensive training programs. You might be training for a month, 2 months, 3 months before you actually touch patient samples. Initial competency and initial training aren't necessarily tied. You can do initial training and not have your initial competency done. You can wrap them up together. There are certain metrics that have to be hit to achieve competency over initial training. So we have initial training and initial competency. I like to separate those out in terms of paperwork, but I achieve them at the same time. But it's important to delineate that. It makes it easier for the inspectors if you delineate that. Competency is before you start testing patient samples. You can start training and you can pass aspects of your training program, but you cannot start testing patient samples, doing testing on actual patient samples until you have passed your competency. Until you've been deemed competent, you cannot touch patient samples. So once your initial competency done, not your hire date, not your initial training date, once your initial competency, that's when the clock starts ticking. So once your initial competency has been signed, done, and documented, then the clock starts ticking for the 6 month window to show that you are competent again. What I like to do is I like to cut that window in half. So at 3 months, so if it's a 6 month period, at 3 months I like to start doing competency. Because competency is very encompassing. You have your ability to do patient samples. You have your proficiency testing. You have your maintenance. You have your troubleshooting. You have what's the last thing? There's one more. I can't think off the top of my head. Anyway, so you have multiple aspects. You have at least 4, 5, 6 components to analyze, to document competency in. Now, during those competencies, they don't have to all be done at the same time. It doesn't have to be at your 6 month mark or at your year mark. It's within that 6 month period, within that year period, you must show that you're competent and document your competency. So what I like to do is I like to cut the period in half. So if it's a 6 month period, at 3 months I like to start doing it. If it's a year, then maybe I'll wait 6 months. I don't always wait 6 months. The proficiency test is one of those key things that might start documenting right away. Almost 3 months. 3 months again might start documenting it again. Because if you want to do if you want to include a proficiency as your competency, there may be only 2 opportunities a year, and you don't want to wait. You don't want to miss that opportunity to count the competency. So 3 months, cut the time in half. If it's 6 months, cut to start at 3 months. So then at 3 months, you do one aspect. Maybe it's proficiency testing, maybe it's maintenance, maybe it's sample prep, reporting, whatever the case it is, whichever aspect you want to knock off, you do that. Then you wait another month. Next month, you do the same thing. You document another process. And then the next month, you document another process. And make sure you hammer out all the details then. And everything's written up, documented, put a bow on it, have your documentation. Done. Done, done, done.